So we're back.
We're back.
Hey guys.
April Fools.
We introduced ourselves, and that was absolutely my fault. So this is Jessie. Hi. This is Ashley. You see Candace on the screen, and I am Mika. So we wanted to come back because we were just having like a really good conversation about the dating and the courting and what we see and what we don't see, and actually brought up a really good topic about actually making men feel desirable in a relationship as well. And it's sometimes when men pursue us, we make them do all the work. And so when it comes to relationships, it's 100. It's not 50-50, it's 100. So while the man is pursuing you and letting you know that he's interested in you, women, we still have to do some of the work. So let's just jump right back into it. And Candace, I believe you were saying something really, really good. So go back to what you were saying.
No, I was just saying that, yes, it's, well, in our Christian faith, we're taught that the man pursues, right? Okay. But we still have a job to let them know that we want to be pursued, that we do find the idea of you pursuing us desirable, that we do subscribe to it, and that, you, the one who's pursuing, is also a catch. It's like, I feel like society has taught women that it's weakness to show that you need a man, that you are interested in what they are bringing to the table. It's weakness to show that you actually are desiring to be with that man, and it's not weakness. It's only fair. It's like the way you start something is the way you have to finish it. So,
and the only reason why I say that is because a lot of times I think women get so caught up in, oh, he wants me, he's texting me, he's doing this, he's doing that. But on the other end, the guy is like, well, dang, why am I always the one that's reaching out? Why am I always the one that's calling you? Why am I always the one that's got to set up the dates? Or why am I always the one who's got to do this, and this? Is this how the relationship is going to be?
I'd be tired. I'd be like, this tiring.
And let's be honest. That's probably the reason why some of these relationships don't go further than what they should, because the guy is like, well, if I got to do all of this now, what am I going to have to do if I decide to put a ring on it?
Because let's just be honest, if they ascribe to what you do to get them is what you got to do to keep them, I'm already burnt out at the thought of being in a relationship with you. I'm like, oh no, my wallet's burnt out, my brain is burnt out. I'm tired. It's like, and we haven't even done anything. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with a woman dating her man. There's nothing wrong with, you know what, baby, I was thinking about you and you are so fine. I would love to see you across the dinner table. Can we go out? Can I take you out to dinner tonight? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Be bold with it. Like, make him blush once in a while. There's nothing wrong with it. Everyone wants to be desired. Everyone wants to know that to my mate, I have value. I have worth. And that's fire. That's something that we need to be comfortable with. I'm done.
This is why we had to come back. Because somebody out there needed to hear it. Women. Did you hear that? No, it really is a balance. There has to be some type of, man, she want me.
So that when these other jokers out here come across your man and like, you are fine, I would like to talk to you. You're not even tempted. Oh, you telling me something I already know. Bye, boo. Bye. Go on. It's like these men are dating their daughters and they're taking them on dates and stuff to show them how a man should treat them, so that when some joker come on talking about, I'm gonna buy you a $3 milkshake and a burger at McDonald's, what we gonna do? They're like, excuse me, my father takes me to Ruth Chris. You got to do that with your man. Like, so that this other buster out here come up and like, oh, you are fine. Okay. My woman tells me that minute by minute. You got something better to come with? No? Okay, keep it moving. Like, make no room. I
mean, don't give them an inch, because they'll take a...
Don't. Like they should be the position where it's like it's not news to them. It's not something new to them. It's not you're not the wow factor is gone because I already do this from my wife does that for me and more. My girlfriend tells me this about myself and more. Like you're not telling me something new. Like I feel that strongly in my shana, y'all.
So I don't want to cut you off, but I want to follow up with this question because we hear it so often. How far do you go with that when you're not married? Because we're told as women all the time, don't do wifely things in a non-marital relationship.
I'm gonna say something very controversial, but you go ahead.
Ready?
I might gonna get in trouble because this is being recorded to go out to the masses.
TV.
I'm listening.
As we all lean in.
What I'm gonna say is this: if it says speak those things as though they were, and we're not married yet, who says I cannot speak those things over you? Who says I can't treat you as if you were the finest day walking? Who says I can't treat you as a husband with boundaries? We're not laying in the bed. We're not gonna be all up in each other's houses, living together, sharing bills, doing all that. But why can't I speak to you in a manner that lets you know that I feel these things for you? Because I'd be lying if I say I didn't. So why not let you know that I feel these things, I think these things, along with the filter of, keeping it still PG. But you can let someone know that you find them very desirable without being vulgar. And so it's in the way that I behave around you. It's in the way that I speak to you. It's in the way that I let you know what I think about you, how highly how highly I revere you. Like there are things you can do. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It might not be the Christian view, but
I think that was actually a great answer, because so many times, again, relationships don't go to a certain level or don't get past a certain degree of relationship because we don't put in the work. Like marriage starts before a ring. So if all you waiting is to walk down the aisle because you want to look cute, then I'm sorry, boo, you have the wrong conception about marriage. So for you to say there are still ways that you can let somebody know that you desire them without taking it to a physical relationship is so true, and it's so key, because I need to water the grass now so that when springtime comes,
yep,
I can get freshly cut, looking nice. Otherwise, somebody else gonna come water my plant or my flowers, and by the time it's starting to blossom, now you mad that old girl over here got what you want.
So because you said that, can I tell y'all a story real quick? I don't know if I was on the phone with you, Mika, or Maya, or somebody, but one day I was on my deck, and it was literally like raining cats and dogs, y'all. It wasn't snowing, it was raining. And I was on my deck and I was looking across at the woman. I was like, she's so silly. She out there doing yard work in the rain, raking the leaves and stuff like that. And God shut me completely up. I said, I'm convicted. Because I'm looking over there laughing at her, tending her lawn because it's torrential weather. But what she's doing is preparing the ground for that when the rain stops and the storm passes, that her lawn is in order, that is thriving and it's vibrant and it's healthy, and it's the best looking lawn in the neighborhood, because all of the rest of us looking at her out there in that rain laughing. Lamar, why you out there in the rain, the storm? That's so silly. You raking leaves, and who rakes leaves in the rain? Clearly she does, because her lawn is beautiful. But I feel like, that was an analogy to say in relationships, we the ones thinking, oh, you silly complimenting your man, and I want to cook him dinner, and I want to do these things, and I want to show him that he's important. You're laughing, right? But you're like, you don't have to do all that. If he don't love you, he should serve you. But yeah, her marriage is thriving. She is pampered. She's spoiled. She is valued and taken care of. There's nothing that she can't ask for that the man won't go out and try to steal the sun to get her. And we over here complaining we single and we in a miserable relationship, and we laughing at what she's doing that I'm just saying.
That's good.
Speaking facts.
You are. That's good. For me, one thing I was about to say what Mika said. One thing is we need to stop the comparison. I think that some of these ideas, like we've said, is not Bible. It's things that we've heard from friends, family, people. This is what you need to figure out and create the culture that is suitable for you in your relationship, right? So all these things, when you get to marriage, you're not going to then just start one new page and then I don't know, start traveling, start making silly jokes, start complimenting. If that wasn't the culture at the beginning, like it's not just going to magically appear because you guys have put a ring on the finger. So some of these things that we like, even we talked earlier about like romance and sensuality and things like that. If you don't discuss it before, if compliments are not a part of your language, it's going to be awkward. One day you'll be like, "Hi, you look good," and the guy will, "What did I do?" Like, because it's so not part of you, you know.
Yeah.
So I think some of these things we have to start looking inward and what would work for the relationship and how the relationship looks like in your eyes. Do you want to have a friendship? Do you want to have laughter? Do you want to have, what do you want to have in the relationship and how do you get there? And I think Brianna and Vincent have been doing that. I love when you got the bike for her and those little attentions, and the next thing she wanted to take him dancing. So it's like back and forth, give and take, and that helps build the relationship.
I think it's nothing wrong with you building your hope chest.
What does the Bible say? The wise woman is the one who builds her house.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all speaking.
This is good conversation. Like, we don't have these conversations a lot. And because, like, going back to what I said earlier, so often we're like living according to the standards of purity culture, of Christian dating or courting culture, married culture, whatever, single culture. And a lot of things that we are taught, it has nothing to do with Bible. It's clearly based off of someone's opinion and someone's experience. And I'll be honest, in this season, I've wondered, as I've seen so many men get married, like Christian men, like just randomly get married. And I'm like, okay, Jesus, like, your girl's been fasting and praying and just seeking your face and getting your house in order and doing all these things. And I'm like, God, not what's wrong with me, but God, help me to do this the way that you want me to do it. Because perhaps I've taken on this theology that has nothing to do with you. And so maybe I'm really the one who's repelling what you're sending, because I'm trying to do it a way that they told me all of my life to do it. And now that I got in the word for myself and I see what you say, I'm like, wait a minute, Ashley, hold up, girl.
That's so good, Ashley. That's so good.
All in the name of God, but God was not in the midst of it. Doing it out of your brokenness, out of your trauma, out of your misunderstanding, out of your neglect to get in the word.
Yeah, I'm so glad we pressed record.
That is so good.
Listen, I told Mika earlier today. I said I was having a conversation with someone. I said, you know, your concept of a thing fuels your desire for a thing. So if your concept is messed up, then that is absolutely feeding your desire for, or want of something. So if your concept of what marriage should be, right? You thinking you this Hallmark Lifetime Christmas special, right? Disney cut version of a marriage. If that's what you have as your definition of the concept of marriage, then that's fueling your desire for a certain type of marriage. And that's a dangerous thing, because if God had answered my prayer to be married by 24, have my first kid by 25, second kid by 26, my concept of marriage didn't involve him in the making of and building of that marriage, right? I believed in God, but I hadn't involved him in that. It was more so what I read in romance novels or historical romances or saw on TV, Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara, Gone with the Wind. It was those kind of things. Like that helped to build my concept of what I thought marriage was when I was younger. I was like, oh, that's so romantic. I want it. I romanticized it. But now getting in the word and in more intimate relationship with God, my concept and understanding of what marriage is has changed. So my desire to be a wife in a type of marriage that God wants for me has changed, right? So I'm like, wow, Lord, like, thank you for not bringing my desire for that marriage, because I had this idea that he was going to come in and rescue me. That, I wasn't going to have no financial problems because we was both going to have jobs, but I never factored in that he got bills too. That he came with debt too. That he came with needs and wants and ideas too. It was all about how can you serve me, not about how can we build together. So yeah.
Y'all just got me over here like, Lord, because okay, so we were talking about serving and things like that, and so I'm thinking to go kind of back to what Ashley was saying is her appetite changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wanted a certain thing because that's all you knew. It's kind of like, somebody who doesn't really venture out and eat a bunch of different things because of what they're so used to eating. And so we in our Christian culture are so used to eating, this is how you do this is how you do that, this is how you do this is how you do that. And, I'm so happy that we're able to admit that sometimes we didn't get in the word for ourselves to see exactly what God said about a thing. And so this pandemic has served a tremendous purpose in allowing us to not rely so much on what the pastor has to say and go back to what does God have to say. Mm-hmm. And so when you change your appetite, you start seeing things differently. Mm-hmm. Start desiring things differently. Like, for instance, when I'm starting to fast, my prayer is always, God, change my appetite for the things in which I don't need to eat anymore and the things that I should be eating during this time, because now I want to hear you clearly. But who's to say that I can't hear him eating chicken? Who's to say that I can't hear him? It's not so much about what you're eating. It's more so about what your spirit and your heart is trying to do in that time. And so now that we're older and we're starting to realize things for ourselves, it's like, okay, God, I thought I wanted that. Going back to what Candace said. But now that I have a different understanding for it, I'm so glad that you didn't bring me what I thought I wanted and that you knew exactly what I needed. So that time that has passed, now my understanding for what you are bringing to me will be valued and cherished more, because I know exactly what the purpose of this is. So Candace and I have conversations all the time. And I'm currently reading this book called Sacred Marriage. And the subtitle is, what if God created marriage to make us holy more so than to make us happy? Mm-hmm. Wow. And
give me on that roller coaster again.
and in that, it talks about how marriage is a ministry. Yeah. Marriage has nothing to do with how emotionally you feel, how physically you feel. It has everything to do with how spiritually you are. Because marriage is used in a sense to draw you closer to God. I hear it all the time from couples who have been together or have been married for 20 plus years. Marriage is a mirror. And it's a reflecting mirror. Because sometimes, the word says you can go and look in the mirror and then forget about what you look like. But marriage is a reflecting mirror that shows you. Mm-hmm. So when you have a spouse who has something that gets under your skin or that gets on your nerves, it's really the thing that's in you that you need to fix. Mm-hmm.
But hold up, not even just marriage, but your relationship, intimate relationship. I found that with my ex-boyfriend from a couple of years ago, I would get so frustrated with him. And it wasn't the fact that he was doing something wrong. It was that I was projecting onto him my shortcomings and looking at him to solve through his behavior my shortcomings. In turn, getting more and more frustrated because I had these unspoken expectations, not just for him, but for myself. So when I saw that mirrored behavior in him, and I would get frustrated, why aren't you working on that? Why are you being lazy about that? Why don't you take care of it? When in my own house, the very things that I was looking in the mirror about yelling at him, that was a two-way glass. Whereas I'm looking at the mirror and he's hearing me yell at him, but I'm really yelling at myself, and it wasn't fair to him at all. So that's all I gotta say.
Listen, it could be there may be some silent moments during this conversation just because we're all taking it in. And it's hitting.
Y'all can tell me if I'm talking mess. I'll be quiet.
It's hitting in a way because, you know, for you to be interested in somebody and you know, y'all are talking or going out or whatever the case may be, and they're doing something that is irritating you, maybe it's time for you to take a step back and say, is this something that I do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this something that I'm doing to other people in other relationships, in friendships, in a mother-daughter relationship, in a sibling relationship? Like, is this something that I'm doing to other people that now I'm seeing because it's being done to me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I find myself asking God all the time, did I do this to somebody? Am I currently doing this now to somebody? Because if I am, then I want to correct it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I'm trying to please God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, man,
that's so good. It's self-reflection. One thing that comes to my mind is truth sets you free.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've seen in all the couples and even in talking is just that sometimes we're not truthful with ourselves. We don't take the time to see the truth in ourselves. We don't take the time to speak the truth in the relationships. And so you have a lot of unspoken things. You have a lot of crooked truths that you've learned along the way. So it's important for us to look inward and to see, what am I bringing it's not always about the other person, but what am I bringing to build this relationship, or what am I doing that is bringing the relationship down, and how can I be better and adapting with that. And if something is not working right in the relationship, being able to have those honest and transparent conversations on what is important to me, what is not important, how can we do things better, so that it doesn't just fester in there. And in the recognizing what are those crooked truths that we've learned along the way as well, in the way that we speak, women power, softness is weakness, and all this stuff. And that does tell you that soft words can quench fire. So how can you take those truths and say, no, this is not something that I need to have in my life or in my relationship. I want to do things the way God wants me to do it, and kind of implementing those in what you have without looking left and right.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things, and even going back to how we even opened up this conversation, and like women desiring men, or making that desire known and having to be, I guess, transparent. There's a level of vulnerability that has to happen. Yeah. And I think for so long, and I'm still working through this myself, it's You've always been taught to guard your heart. And of course, that's what the word says.
Yeah.
It says to guard your heart, protect it, and all of that stuff. But somehow we have missed guarding our heart with putting up these barriers that we cannot accept and receive love.
Yes.
And it's difficult to be vulnerable in safe spaces.
I'm about to cry.
And it's like, it's period. Because don't forget about the relationship with oh boy and bae and all of that stuff. But even with friends, even with family, you'll notice like sometimes I've been guarding my heart for so long. I don't even know how to be loved. And it was one of them couples, the girl who been doing the yoga poses and stuff and whatever.
Clara.
Talking about her and was like, does he know? Does he know? One of the things I've really been studying and helped me in my counseling with couples is love languages. And so often we miss that part of love languages. And it's always the misconception that men are the only one who have this love language, physical touch. And
They're not.
this yoga stuff, I was like, she ain't been loved or she didn't be loved. Homegirl needs that physical touch. That's what she. And so for many of us, we have not been loved the way that we need to be loved. And we don't even know how we need to be loved. So it's like being vulnerable, like allow God to let you be vulnerable. Like if your heart is literally in the hands of God, trust God to put your heart in the right hands. And I'm talking about beyond a relationship, because sometimes we're like, God, only doing it in a relationship. No, well, what about your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your friends? Let them love you and give that love back. Let God love you. Don't even let me get there.
But how about let you love you? Because a lot of these problems, they don't know how to love themselves. So do you even love yourself? Because how can you receive or recognize love from anybody else when you can't even look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself? It starts there.
I'm about to get real TMI right now. So something that I've started doing is when I'm getting ready to get in the shower, or even if I'm getting ready to get dressed, I look at myself in the mirror. And I'm starting to realize that previously I would look at myself in the mirror and pick myself apart. But now I look in the mirror and I be looking at myself like, damn, girl.
Yes.
You got a body on you.
Body, yada, 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 yada.
But not only that, like the way you're made is so like intricate. And somebody is going to appreciate. But if you don't appreciate it, if you can't say to yourself, damn, I look good, then how can you receive that from somebody else? Like I used to cringe when I got compliments about my shape because I was just like, why are you looking at it?
Yeah, like just hiding everything.
But now I haven't gone all the way to the opposite end where now I want to flaunt it and do all these different things, but I've become more comfortable in my skin, and I have become more comfortable with being thick and not having to be a size 4 or a size 2 because I think that that's pretty. I've become more comfortable with knowing that it's okay to have thighs, and it's okay to have hips and curves and dimples and stretch marks, and because these things happen with your body, especially as you get older, you start to fluctuate in weight and all that other different type of thing. But also knowing that if I don't appreciate my body, how can I be naked in front of somebody else? And because if you don't realize it, if you ever been naked in front of somebody and you are uncomfortable, it makes that person feel uncomfortable. So if I can't be comfortable with myself, it's going to be very difficult for them to be comfortable with me. Now be in this awkward position where it's like, well, do you want me to touch you? Now we need to, like, how do you perceive yourself? And that goes with the self-love thing. Like, if you don't love yourself, you definitely can't expect anybody else romantically to love you, but also your parents, your siblings. Like, if I'm always down on myself and my brother, for instance, is trying to say, oh man, Meek, you look real good today. And I'm like, oh, whatever.
Shut up. Whatever. Y'all got jokes. And you be like, dang.
to him, to him, it's like, well, dang, I ain't gonna say nothing to you no more because you can't even take that. So,
but if you have a hard time loving yourself, because I'm telling you, how do you eat an elephant? If you look at it and try to take it in one bite, you can get overwhelmed. One bite at a time. So even if you're not there yet, we're like, you know what? Even if I'm gonna be real with y'all right now, it's like if it takes you looking in the mirror and say, you know what, I tolerate you right now. I'm tolerating you. Then let that build to, you know what, you kind of all right. I like you. I like it. I like this. Even if it has to be those steps, because some people might watch this and be like, well, I'm not there. And there's some days, y'all, honestly, I look at myself and say, you know, I'm tolerating you, but we will get through this. And I will like you tomorrow. And I will even love you the day after that. So it's real. Like you have a starting point somewhere as long as you get there. Like, you know, some people can wake up and be like, you know what? I love your hair. I love your curls. I love the kinks. I love the hips. I love the rolls. That's wonderful. But if you're like me, it might take you saying, I tolerate this today.
Yeah.
I'll like it tomorrow. Like, just real talk. I mean, I'm just going to. Yeah.
I wish I could wake up and say, ooh, girl, you are so fine. Sometimes I wake up and be like, girl, what did you do yesterday? So, I totally get it.
And in those moments, it's important to realize what you're focusing on too.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you focusing on that? Because even in those moments when you have, ooh, you look weird, that I can guarantee there's at least one thing that is like amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you start thinking, oh, you know, I look like this, I look like this, but what is looking good right now? What can you say? Wow, I have beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe I'll put some salsa music and I have beautiful moves. You know,
yeah. Identify one thing that you love about one good thing, even one. And if you can't, then that means you got some work to do.
Yeah.
Just one thing.
And that's the same thing you bring in marriage too. When things seem to go all wrong and that your partner is always doing the wrong things and toilet paper and food and everything and he's just bad. Can you identify one thing that can remind you why you married that person?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's good. So love yourself. Love others. Don't be afraid to say
it. Yeah, man.
That's something I need to work on actually. I remember I have like an adoptive family here. Some family who accepted me here as a foreigner. And the dad, like personally, I haven't grown up with my dad. So we left when I was about 11. And in our culture, like the I love you is not something that generally African parents, you know, it's not, they will show it to you and buy it, but it's not something that is said.
Yeah.
So where would see that specific wording said is like in movies and Western movies and things like that. So I never grew up with that or even thinking that I needed to say that. And now come here, I have now a dad and I'm not used to having that male presence in my life. And all the time when I would call or he calls me, he would end it with, love you. And I'll be like, thanks, bye. And it went on and on and on. And one time he was like, do you realize that every time I say love you, you never respond with I love you? And I was like, oh wow. And he's like, yeah, you know, I want you to start saying it. And I realized in that moment how awkward it was for me to say those words to a dad. Like, and I literally had to work on it. And I'm like, wow, I have a hard time expressing those words. And now I force myself. And he forced me actually because he would call and say, love you, and I would be quiet. And he's like, I'm not hanging up the phone until you say it back.
That's what Clara got to do to Ryan. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
I don't know how to pan out your.
He won't work. It won't work. But little by little, it became something. And now because it's not my culture, it's still kind of uncomfortable. But I can, you know, drop it real quick before like instead of saying I love you, I just like love you. But I guess it's part of the steps, but it's just talking about how you identify some things and you adapt and you kind of bring it. And now for my mom, I'm able now to say it to my mom, and it's not something that we don't love each other. We love each other a lot, but it's not something that we say.
Yeah.
So I'm learning.
Jesse,
Yeah.
love you.
Me too.
I'm sorry, I do love Jesse, but I just had to do it.
That's something good because I also think a lot of people have a problem with saying that because it's used so improperly.
Mm.
So fortunately for you, something that is probably not done here, but it's done there, is that y'all show each other.
Mm-hmm.
So many people here say it, but the actions follow the words. So
Girl,
it's interesting how over here you don't say it as much, but you show it. But over here they say it but don't show it. So
I want to say something so bad.
yeah, I'm gonna get you. It's quite interesting how that happens, but to get you to say that, like, I'm pretty sure you showed him how much you care for him and how much you love him, but he wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you guys say it a lot. Like, I'm still getting used to it.
Go ahead, Candace. I want to hear this one.
No, like, because I just realized that little record button is on. So it's like I literally had a conversation with someone, and this person said that the person that they're talking to was like, "I love you," and immediately I had red flags because the behaviors that were being displayed did not match the words, but it was enough to keep this person baited and hooked. And I think I've used this terminology with you, Mika, before, where it's like, there are certain men who go fishing.
Yeah.
And they go fishing early in the morning, and they have plans to go fishing for hours, right? Because they know that if you go early in the morning, you get some catches, but then there's a certain part of the day where you get that really good catch. But they catch the little fish and they keep it on the line in the water, so it's still attached. It's not free. It's in the water and living, right, and breathing, but it's not free. And they use the little fish to bait the big fish. And I feel like there are some men that do that to women. They bait you with certain words and they hook you and they keep you in an environment that you think you're living and thriving and free, but you're still baited. You're still hooked. And they're using you, but they're keeping you on that line with certain terminology. Stuff like, I love you. I miss you. You're my heart. I've been thinking about you. Yet your behavior is what you really did in reality was ghost me for 3 days. Or you have every excuse in the book why you haven't picked up the phone to talk to me, but you'll throw out their little heart emojis or, hey, babe, or I miss you, love you. And then I don't hear from you again for another 3-4 days. That's called a bait and hook. And so I feel like so many things, but yeah, that's just what reminded me, like,
I'm going to say it for all the women watching. I feel seen right now.
Oh, what?
Some people say that when something is real good, they be like, I feel seen right now. I feel like a lot of women are going to put feel seen right now. Because unfortunately, you know, and I'll be the one to play the other side. Women do it too.
And they do.
There are men who are genuinely interested, who are not out here trying to play games and things of that nature, and are genuinely interested in women or interested in a woman, and she is saying all the right things and doing all the right things to keep this man on the hook. Actuality, she knows she don't want nothing to do with him. So I think over here in America, in this culture, it's done because people are trying to be defensive of their feelings and not get hurt. So
Right.
I can play you before you play me, then I'm good. But in actuality, what you're doing is you're damaging somebody for the person. If you don't want to be with that person, or you know that that person has nothing to offer you, let that person go so that they can be the person that they need for whoever God has for them.
Yeah. I think we talked about this, Mika, where I told you it's like, just because you say no to what is a blessing, you killed yourself. You delayed it for me, because blessing, promise, and purpose are, like, if God made you a promise, just like with Esther, and if she didn't do what he asked her to do, she's gonna die. People still gonna be saved. She was gonna die. And I think what all of them who attached to her was gonna die. What was it, right? So it's like, I feel like, there you go. So I feel like, as keeping somebody strung along, those things, you're delaying for them what's a promise. They're gonna still get it, because if God promised a thing to that person, it's going to come to fruition. But you playing with someone, you're just delaying their blessing. You're delaying their promise. You need to step off. Like, if you know that it's not something you want, don't keep batting it around playing with it. Release that thing so that it can walk fully into what God has purpose for them. Like, if you know that that's not part of your plan and your purpose, release it and put yourself into a posture and position to receive what God has for you as well.
Something. You saying that just dropped in my spirit so heavily, that the reason why so many people are out here still single is because they're tying up somebody else that does not belong to them. And it's to be delayed to get to the person that they need. It's like what's going on with UPS and USPS and FedEx and all these different packages that are supposed to be delivered right now, but because of COVID,
it's a delay.
And they're being held up for a particular reason that ain't got nothing to do with why your package is not here. My package said it was supposed to be here in 3 days, but it's not here because of the delay in the processing of how it's supposed to get to me. So y'all, men and women, stop delaying with what you know is not meant for you. Don't be out here talking about something, but I just wanted to see. You knew.
Oh, you knew.
You knew from the
Stop delaying somebody else's promise. Let it go.
Whether it was a gesture, whether it was, you knew there's something about this person is not for you. Let that person go, male or female, so that they can get to the person and the promise that God has for them.
Yep.
Yeah. And go ahead.
But let me say this, because Amazon holding up one of my packages too. And let me tell you, when I finally get my package, this is the beauty of waiting and delay. I will say this, is that you're going to appreciate that thing when you finally get it, because
very true.
And so you didn't get it when you thought you wanted it or when you needed it. But now that I've had to wait, there's been a delay, I'm going to appreciate when I see that package on my front step next week. So
because even though we consider it a delay, God says it's perfect timing.
It's the appointed time.
Appointed time.
Always perfect timing. However, it's delayed because now God has to reconstruct and to fix what's been damaged. So that's why we say let it go, because now God has to take that time and to mend what's been broken. And so when he has to do that, unfortunately, people don't heal the same way.
Right.
Some people take longer to heal than others. Some people can say, you know what, God, all right, I learned my lesson from that. Let me move on. While other people say, God, I can't do this. So I need you to take some more time with me and help me get to the position in which you need me to be in. So while I do appreciate the delay, it's also causing some damage, because sometimes when I get those boxes, they're a little bit beat up.
Right. And then I'm ready to return the sender. Or something in it is cracked, or something in it is damaged. Yes, I got the listen. We can go all night on.
I feel breakthrough though. I really do feel breakthrough in these conversations, because like these are just the things we don't talk about, we don't address. Like if we're going into a new season, if we're having new beginnings, if we want things differently this year, like different things have to be done. Mindsets have to be let go. Like you have to be renewed. So yeah, I really.
Yeah. And if we go back to the example of the little fish on the hook, in our instances, the fish has hands. So you unhook yourself.
Come on.
Somebody is hooking you in. You have the power, and
Remove the hook.
yeah, you can identify. We talked about the languages and actions versus words. It's not one or the other. It's in the middle, right? Actions without words. I want to hear those words. Like, you can show me all day long, but hearing the words can do something different. And on the opposite side too, I don't want just the words without any actions to follow up. So these are things that you can, if you're dating somebody and they're saying all the right words, look at their actions. What are those actions speaking, and vice versa. And if you find that the actions or the words are there to hook you up, unhook yourself so that you won't delay yourself in the process.
Mm-hmm. This has been good, y'all.
I don't know if I want to cry on.
Listen, I'm having so many emotions over here. Like, look, I feel like I've gotten free just from having this conversation and being honest and being transparent and being open about some of the things that we have dealt with, that I have dealt with personally. So, whether you're male or female watching this, we all pray that you have gotten some type of deliverance from this, that you have gotten some type of freedom from this, that you have gotten some type of just renewal from having this type of conversation, because it's not had enough. And actually, I would be interested to hear the male's perspective of all of this. So
good. Males.
Where are you?
Just grab a group of your friends and just respond to this, particular video here, and let us hear your side of the conversation. I always think it's very interesting because, not all guys think alike. And while some may be out here playing games with people, there are some men out here who desire to be in a relationship, who desire to be married, who desire to be with just one woman. So
and y'all other jokers out here making it hard for them to get that. Seriously, y'all come on now.
So, because now women are getting suspicious.
Yeah. So we want to hear from you. You can make a response video to this or whatever the case may be, or you can somehow get in contact with us and maybe we can find a way to have this type of dialogue again.
Bet.
Where we get the male and the female perspective of it. But just, I really pray that somebody gets set free on tonight or whenever you take this time to watch it. So.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more entertaining videos such as these.
And follow us, delight.intl on Instagram.
See y'all.
Real now. See y'all.